I've made TikTok videos about this topic before, and it is kind of a pretty basic fact that I've observed for a long time, and it keeps just being hammered into me over and over again. Pause. Unpause. It is the slop-ification of art, and specifically, the slop-ification of manga and manhwa. It's something that affects me, I guess, more than others, because I do enjoy reading new series when they come out. But my problem is that every single series that comes out nowadays is a carbon copy of the last series. It kind of stems from the fact that every manhwa and manga that's coming out now has to be new. It can't really be the same as the last thing that's come out. Like, you can't just make Naruto nowadays because that's already been done, you know what I mean? You have to make something new. And real quick, I noticed how bright this light is. Let me fix that. And by forcing everything to be new and unique, you are in fact making it less unique. Because you're forcing, you know what I mean? Like, let me give some examples. A very popular genre is like an isekai slash reincarnation thing, where this guy gets reborn, blah blah blah, whatever. Now, the slop-ification comes in where you can't just make, oh, there's a magic world, the guy gets reborn. No, because everyone's already done that. So they think, oh, I'm being different. I'm gonna copy the exact same storyline, the exact same thing that happens in every single one of these. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the beginning. I'm gonna change the name. I'm so different. And then they'll change the power system, and the same thing happens in each one of these mangas. And the same thing happens because they're sellouts. Because people will read this. And it's kind of the same thing as like with AI for like 80-year-olds on Facebook. Or just recently my like grandmother came to me, showed me this video of these dogs jumping on a trampoline. It's like, oh, look how cute they are. I'm like, that's AI. She's like, yeah, but look, they're cute dogs. And I think that's the same thing that's happening in the brain of an average manhwa reader, where they see, oh, this is just like the last thing I like, but it's a bit different. And then they watch that. The problem is if you keep changing it just a bit, it ends up just becoming terrible. Because you're so far removed from an actual good storyline, you're still trying to keep to that like same archetype of storytelling that is like popular, that it just becomes slop. And okay, like for instance, I've read maybe 3 good, like really, really good manhwas in the last year. And each one of them is not one of the mainstream manhwas. It's something completely different. It's an original storyline. The storyline isn't, oh, I'm gonna fight this guy, but then his boss is gonna come, and he's gonna send his boss, and then he's gonna send his boss. It is original. Something that also happens with people trying to avoid a carbon copy, but still, stay in that same niche, which is like super difficult to do in a good like way that isn't just terrible. And what I see a lot of people doing is they will make changes that just don't even make sense. They will have storylines in the beginning that make 0 sense just so they can claim to not be copying another show. Like, for instance, there's like 90,000 max level necromancer revives 100 years before the cataclysm or whatever. Like that could full on actually be the name of something that I haven't read yet. And you can't like, how are you going to write a beginning of a story that hasn't already been written if there's like 10 other versions of the same manhwa with the exact same title with like different Google Translate, you know what I mean? So what they'll do is they'll just make it stupid. They'll just make it stupid just to not copy. And I think that's just lazy. At a certain point, it is better to just copy something if it is what you would have done anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, well, the other guy already is counting from 1 to 100, so I'm gonna skip the first 100. Like, no. There are certain archetypes, certain laws, certain things that are just good. So just copy the thing that is good, give it your own style, and we're fine. You don't have to make your own thing. And this is also something that ties into a lot of rants that I've had in the past, where people won't publish their own thing or won't create art because it is too close to someone else's art that has already been created. Or just like not original in their mind because it's like, oh, this already exists. No, it doesn't. If you make it yourself with your own ideas, even if it's based on something, it's still your own thing. A very good example of this is, although he does get bashed a lot, is that one artist who does like that super thick acrylic paint 3D paintings, and he always gets compared to like, oh, this guy did it first, so actually he's not original. No, the other guy has a completely different art style, he just uses the same technique. And the new guy who did it is 1,000 times more famous, everyone knows him, he just had a collab with F1. What I'm trying to say here is just be yourself. Humans only evolve through the retention of knowledge from previous generations and previous humans. So, if you try to go out of your way to not use the knowledge and techniques and storytelling that you have read before, you are purposely devolving yourself. The people who make those slop manhwas, where they have to make something different and can't just use a normal story archetype, they are devolving humanity as a whole. They are making it worse by not just copying what came before. And of course, there's a fine line, because in this rant itself, well, you can argue that all of my rants are also slopified because I just keep ranting about stuff and ranting about stuff, which is also just stuff that already exists. I'm just rephrasing it in my own way. And you'd also argue, I guess, that I'm copying Penguin Zero because, or Moist Critical, whatever you want to call him, just because I'm also, ranting and not putting that much effort into my editing. But again, it's not the same thing. I'm saying completely different things. I don't have nearly the vocabulary that he does. I also don't make the same topics, although I did notice yesterday's video, I'm like, why is it performing so terribly? And then I noticed that Moist Critical uploaded the exact same video, basically, 2 hours before I did. So I could just basically go fuck myself and delete that video at that point. But, it is what it is. We persevere, you keep going, you keep creating, and if what you are creating is good, even if it is similar to something that has been done in the past, just make it your own, and you might succeed. What I was saying before, yeah, there's a thin line, because of course, you shouldn't do a completely out-of-this-world thing and slopify the content because it is just so different that it's terrible. You also shouldn't just copy it word for word. You have to find a fine line. Understand what I am saying, please. I don't want to hear anyone like, well, actually, that's just copyright infringement, and that's illegal. Keep yourself safe, please, and your family as well. That's what I have to say to that. Otherwise, I wish you guys a beautiful evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.